There you go. They're never going to tell you over the media, quit eating this stuff. You're going to have to come to that conclusion yourself by your prolapsed colon sitting out here, okay? Now when it falls down, it kinks and things slow down there. And would you believe that the mesentery of the transverse colon feeds your brain directly? The little capillaries that come off that prolapsed colon go to these specific areas of your brain. So when you see people that have, say, seizures, right next to your medulla, right up here, on the left side, there is the equilibrium, dizzy, seizure center. Would you believe that we get a lot of kids out of seizures? One little girl had seizures. I had about 15 of them a day, could not go to school. Dilantin, phenobarbital is going there by the pound. And she was slobbering in her lap, and her IQ was making a nosedive. The poor little girl was just a zombie. And her mother was crying in my office. I gave him, of course, I told her about this problem with her bowel. We inverted her, pulled her colon back up, and made her get on the slant board every night with your fingers in there to pull this colon up, do leg lifts, gave her some anti-seizure herbs, and she never had another one. She ran off to the doctor and said, why don't you use this anti-seizure stuff here that Ron Logan gave me? This stops seizures. He said, oh, who's that? Well, I was arrested, thrown in jail. I've been arrested 4 times. What? For practicing medicine without a license. Yeah? You do not go to your doctor and tell him what you had done. That you don't do. And of course, these poor little women think that it's a benign situation out here, that they're friends. And maybe they'll change if they learn. Really. Now, really. I just got hit by a car in December. And a lady, well, it was a girl. She had no frontal lobe yet. She was only 19. And she was driving on the ice. And I heard a car sliding, and I was standing out next to my car. And here come a Chevy, 30 miles an hour sideways. That's not what a Chevy does. So, anyway, so I knew it was going to hit me. So I jumped in the air so I wouldn't be hurt too bad. And it hit me, knocked me about 20 yards in my yard. And then it slid up against the tree, knocked over my mailbox down there. What tore my meniscus? It hit my left knee and crunch, there it went. Anyway, ooh, that was pain. So I rolled around in the snow a little bit and hollered. The girl wasn't getting out. And so I crawled over there and she was in shock. So I drug her in the house and got the shock out of her. Her pupils went down and she told me her name. And we got her dad there and he got the car. And so I had to start this insurance deal. So what do? You go to the doctor, don't you? In order to get the insurance rolling. So this is a car wreck. So I went to up here to 64th Street where there's a clinic, a family clinic. It's all DOs. Doctors of, osteopathy. And they're trained in joints. Their forte is joints. That all diseases emanate from the joints. Well, I thought they'd be the best people to go to if I had to go to a doctor. I never go, but you know. So anyway, I went up there and I said, He poked around and said, it's a torn meniscus. It torn my meniscus. And when it hit me, I could hear it. And they said, well, we have to take an x-ray. I said, x-rays don't show soft tissue. Yeah, I know that. But we have to do it. It's protocol. You have an x-ray machine and you jump behind a lead shield and you x-ray me. Yeah, that's well, we do it. You got to pay for it. Okay, so we did it. Well, they said afterwards, we can't see it. It doesn't show soft tissue. We need to do an MRI scan. You got one of those machines you got to pay for. Okay, all right. And then we have to do it. Oh, it's protocol. So downstairs we went, bang, 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 they did that. Okay, you got a torn meniscus. Yeah, I told you that when I walked in. Do you want a shot of cortisone? No. Because it makes you moon-faced, puts a hump on your back, and softens your bones. We know that. I said, okay, don't want that. And they said, well, we got to send you to an orthopedic surgeon now. I said, a surgeon? He said, yeah. Well, he cuts. He doesn't mend anything. He cuts things. Yeah, but it's protocol. You got to go see the orthopedic surgeon. You want a shot of cortisone? No. Now, okay. So off I went. Okay, went over there to North Kansas City Hospital. Waited in a tubercular room there with people hacking and coughing and exchanging drugs for about an hour. Finally got in there. And a couple interns came in, looked at me. They went out. Finally, the orthopedic surgeon came in. He said, "Looks like the MRI scan, you got a torn meniscus." I said, "Yeah." "You want a shot of cortisone?" I said, "No, put the hump on your back, makes you move and face, and it softens your bones." He said, "I know that." And I said, "Well, we don't have anything else." He said, "You know, I can't operate on make it any better. You know that, you're a doctor." I said, "Yeah, I know. I know you can't do anything about it." He said, "You wouldn't take anything if I gave it to you, would you?" I said, "No." He said, "Now, you're 80. I doubt if you'll grow it back together, you'll limp the rest of your life." I said, "No, I won't." He said, "Why?" "Because with nutrition, you can heal it." "Well, I don't know about that," he said, you know. So there's no sense in talking with him, so I left. So I went, I got some glucosamine, chondroitin, MSM, hyaluronic acid, and devil's claw. Okay? All right? These things are what you need to heal tissue with. If you need some collagen, what is collagen? It's lysine and proline tied together with glucose. Glucosamine. That's what it is. Do you know I have shelves of it in the health food store? Glucosamine, there it is. If you take it, it knows where to go. It's collagen, and it has to repair it. And then chondroitin is an analog of that. It's a larger piece. It goes in there. So this tear in my knee that showed up in my left eye closed up, see? Within a month or so, I could jump 3 feet in the air, and I went down and run on the beach in Mexico. Felt a lot better. And today it's okay. But they wanted to know why it isn't swollen. They said, "We didn't believe you when you walked in because it's not swollen. When you have a tear like that, you have a swollen knee." And I said, "Because I take inflammation by the Chinese medicine, you know, that they've been using for 3,000 years. It's better than anything you have. Better than our cortisone? Oh, anything's better than your cortisone." And so, anyway, he said, "Yeah, I believe that." He said, "But we can't use it because it's not protocol, see. It's not protocol, so we can't use that. I'm sorry." But anyway, so I showed him my knee. "Well, you're doing pretty good." So that's the end of that. And that cost $4,500. That's why we're sinking, friends. Yeah, the whole country is going under. Because they can't stand that anymore. You see? So, there you go. But in your eye, you can watch the healing. You can actually watch the healing lines come in, this rip in your eye when it happens. That's interesting to see. You know? And as it heals, you know you did it. So it's a real good monitor of your body. And now, here's the glands are just right around that vagus nerve. They butt right into it. Your heart sits right into it because it controls the beat of the heart. The vagus nerve does that. Everything is logical. And so, there you go. The adrenal glands, the prostate, uterus, pancreas, gallbladder, all of them are there. Now, it takes a while to straighten this out on some people. See, because they say, "Can you just tell me what to do for my fibromyalgia? I just want a quick answer." Okay, that ain't possible. Why? Because it's the acidity of your body that's causing it. Where am I getting my acidity? It's going to take 2 hours to tell you. One, your skin doesn't work. So you're going to be acid even if you eat an alkaline diet. Because your skin controls the pH level of your body. You learn this in medical school. If you don't brush it and take care of it, and don't wear nylon and rayon acetate and stuff like that, then you're sunk. You're going to be acid because you can't get it out fast enough. You need to eliminate at least 2 pounds of waste through your skin in a day. Can you do this with nylon on? No. So you're going to be acid. You got to brush your skin every day before you shower to knock the dead cells off. Billions of them come off with a vegetable bristle brush. They have been hanging in racks at the health food store. Vegetable bristle, not nylon, not rayon, and not boar bristle, too soft. It's a vegetable bristle brush. You'll see them hanging over there. Everyone should have his own, just like a toothbrush, and do that every day if he wants to get this acid out of it. Now, since the skin is controlled by the thyroid controls your outer skin, middle skin, and inner skin. I look up here and I see a big red line in the white of the eye pointing right at the thyroid. What does that tell you? More blood coming in to the thyroid. Why? To bring iodine there. You're told in the 4th grade to take iodine or you will grow up goofy. You were told in the 5th grade at least that. And that in one ear and out the other ear it went, and we don't do it. we need to take iodine. If we live back at 25 miles of the ocean, it's a given. That's one of the nutrients you need to be taking every day. We have good iodine, nascent iodine, sold in health food stores. We get that in there to our temperature until our temperature rises in the morning under the armpit to 97.8. It cannot fall below 97.8 in the morning. Between 97.8 and 98.2 is where that temperature should be in the morning. When that occurs, now your thyroid's okay. But I'll grant you that everybody that has fibromyalgia, that's acid, that's hurting, has a low thyroid because he's acid. And the thyroid controls the skin, and the skin's one of the reasons why they're acid. Okay, and so now, what do you do with the thyroid? Well, that's another whole story. Oh, one of the things you do is throw iodine in there. Maybe it don't work because your pituitary is underactive. Your pituitary has to tell the thyroid what to do. And the pituitary is under the gun because big black lines come out of your transverse colon, going right through the pituitary and right in your blood pressure mechanism, and you know what that does. And many people, you'll see this. So what happens there? Their pituitary is low. So Dr. Harvey Ashmead, that made the trigger for the hydrogen bomb, well, he sat on a stool. I got his back fixed up so he can sit on a stool and teach us. Because these Nobel Prize winning chemists have heads this big. He found out what this hormone is made out of from the pituitary that tells the thyroid to kick in and use the iodine he's got. That's the thyroid stimulating hormone. He found it's made out of hyalin, proline, cysteine, zinc, manganese, B6, boron, a couple other things. We get that in herbal formulations, and guess what? It rises our pituitary. It gives that pituitary the oomph to make the thyroxine stimulating hormone, and now he can tell the thyroid what to do with the iodine he's getting. And that's a step some people have to take. See, it takes a while to explain this. All right? And now it still doesn't work in some women because they don't have this enzyme in their muscles called deiodinase to change T4, 4 particles of iodine to 1 of tyrosine, which is the first hormone the thyroid makes, into T3 by taking 1 of those particles of iodine off of there and making the active version of the thyroid hormone, and using this one for disinfection of the human body. But T3 is the thing that works. Now, if you don't have an enzyme in your body anymore from eating cooked food called deiodinase to take 1 of these particles off of there, make T3 out of T4, it's not going to work even now. You took your iodine, you took your your target TS2 that governs the pituitary and helps him. Now it still doesn't work. What do you have to do now? 7-keto. You see it on health food stores, shelves. 7-keto changes T4 into T3. Now, some people have a box within a box within a box here. It's not easy to explain this. So my wife, personally, she has to take iodine. I've got to squeeze her jaws in the morning and squirt it in there because she's a little fuzzy. She's not organized. Okay, well, all right. And then after that, I got to give her this substance to make her target to her pituitary because she doesn't have enough in there to make the thyroxine stimulating hormone. So we put that in there, and then we put 7-keto in there, and now she can keep up with me. Little young punk. She's only 63. But anyway, so you have to do all 3 on a person like that to get some action. You see how difficult it might be to explain why they have fibromyalgia. Because the thyroid controls the skin. If it doesn't work, you're going to be acid. And if the skin's controlled by the thyroid has to work. Your temperature in the armpit will tell you it isn't. You got to fix him. You got to straighten him out, and then brush the skin, and then eat an alkaline diet and do a few other things. Pet your kidneys, thinking, now it'll come uphill. But it's a ball of wax. Everything's together. You know, you're a hologram. You can't just fix one thing. Cancer is a systemic disease in a local place, because and we know that. People, when you take autopsies of people who died in car wrecks, and we had to do it because the insurance company wanted us to do autopsies on people who die in car wrecks, and if they had cancer, a diagnosed cancer, they have brain tumors, whatever, we found that cancer in the left toe, in their earlobes. That cancer was all over their bodies. Don't fool yourself thinking you have breast cancer or a brain tumor or, you know, something. No, 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 no. It is a systemic disease. You must attack it that way. You must consider all of it, see. If you don't, it will be back. And it will roar back on you, see. You've got to consider all of it. And that isn't easy. So we'll find some people with tumors. There was a doctor who had a tumor. Some of you have seen this, possibly. And if you haven't seen this, you can't see it from back there. Here's a man that had pancreatic cancer. His pancreas is at 7 o'clock. Yeah. At 7 o'clock, you see a big old black hole there, right across his autonomic nervous reed. It's got a red dot on it, cancer growing on the side of his pancreas. Okay, now, that's pancreatic cancer. That's nasty. And this doctor went, I told him to go get a CA-19 test because he didn't believe he had it. But I told him he did. And so he went down to the oncology department, North Kansas City, and they said, Jim, a CA-19 test shows you do have it. And it spread your liver and your spleen, you're a goner. Now we can whack out the foci of it and throw it down a surgical chute. But that doesn't work because it just spreads it. And irrespective of what we tell women, that the less organs they have, the better they will feel, that's not really the case. So we don't want to chop you up because it'll just spread it. So why don't you just, well, we could give you chemotherapy and radiate you, but your hair would fall out, your teeth would go, you go down to 79 pounds, you bend over, puke a lot, bleed to the rectum, and then die. You want to do that? Not really, you say. So then go home and die with dignity because there's no way out of this. Not even Patrick Swayze with all his money could get out of that one. And he didn't. Because he refused to do what I asked him to do. We talked. But he wouldn't stop smoking. The first step you do to get well is stop doing the bad thing. All right? See? And he refused to do it. So he died. We talked. I said, Pat, you're suicidal. Go get a psychiatrist. There's lots of them in Southern California. Everybody's crazy down there, and the psychiatrists just rampant down there. They're festooned with the psychiatrists. So go down there and grab one, and he'll get you out of it. He'll hypnotize you, give you drugs, whatever. Quit smoking, because I won't work with you if you do. Well, I'm not going to stop. So he hung up, and he died. And he looked like he was 98, and you know, no hair, no teeth, and nobody could recognize him. He died within a few months. Now this guy, though, he took my advice. He came over, lived with me for about 6 weeks, and we took him away from his family, because the family will kill you with pork steak and donuts and pop. They'll literally kill you. And so we had to take him away from all that, because you can't do anything wrong at this point, Jim, and you don't know right from wrong. You're a medical doctor. So now you get over to my place, and my wife juices every morning. Big green juices go in you. Tastes good. And everything bad comes out of you with black salve. We're going to put it on you and pull it out through your skin, because it's so big at this point that if we broke it up inside of you, it would go to your liver and spread you. You'd have liver cancer. That's messy. You'd die that way. Why don't we just put the black salve on there, which the Indians taught us to do, and pull it out? Can we do that? Yeah, we can do it. We do it every day. We have people for 60 years I've been doing it. He says, sounds like it hurts. He says, you got to pay for your sin. I know. He said, okay. So we did it. And all the whining and crying. You ought to hear a man when he's my. And crawling around and praying with him. It was tough. Okay. Anyway, but in 6 weeks he had it all out. And so his eye changed with all that sulfur poisoning. And you see it's a lot better in 6 weeks. And that is closing up. The red dot's gone. His pituitary is better. His adrenal gland's better. His pupil is half the size it was with the same lighting. So he's getting over his hypoglycemia. So I put his feet in a foot spa, which is just a pail of water with a precipitator in there, and it pulls heavy metals out of your feet. And so he kept that up for a year, and his eye turned nice and blue. And that's the way he is today. Nice blue eye with sulfur in his sinuses. You can't get away from this. It comes from the catalytic converters of cars. But see here, he quit eating his Hershey chocolate, which is loaded with sulfur. He quit eating his Sun-made raisins, loaded with sulfur. He quit eating his commercial bread, which has 6 allowable sulfates in it. He quit, doing all these bad things, and he started eating good food and coming up here and getting his food out of the health food store. And that's the change in his eye. And now he's making prosthetics for crippled people. Now, if you want to see how this goes, you know, it's kind of nasty, and I don't show this to everybody, but you guys are with it. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here. See? So here's the first 5 days. Here's the next 5 days. And the next 5 days. And the next, now right here, he was depressed. He just knew he was going to die. Because they always die with pancreatic cancer. Nobody lives through it. But by this time, it's sticking out to 5 inches. I said, Jim, look at that. We just have to pull the, you know, draw the fingers of it out there, the roots, and we'll have it. So big chunks fell out of him, and 2.5 pounds of it formaldehyde, and it healed up without a scar. And he's making progress.
So how long do you think he had that?
Oh, he had it for a while.
He did?
Yeah, and for a while, see, for a year, I had hollered at him across the street, Jim, do I smell barbecue coming out of your backyard? Yeah, every night. Cut it out. You know that's carcinogens. God's sake, man, you're a doctor. You know coal tar was the #1 cause of cancer they ever found, and you're doing it. And so I'm warning. And so he was kind of prepped to listen to me. So, but yes.
Steve Jobs.
Yes.
He's also about him.
Could have gotten right out of it. But he had too much money. He went to the highfalutin doctors that are going to kill you. Nobody lives through this if you go the medical route. They just don't. And at the same time, Patrick Swayze went to the medical route. He died. He was awful looking at the time he died.
What if you're already taking chemo?
Oh, well, a lot of people do. And we have a newsletter on integrative medicine, how to do this and integrate it. Because there are certain things like pawpaw, you know, pawpaw cell regulator. Pawpaw is a tree that grows around here. And the twig of that tree has ananaceous acetogenins in there. And it stops the ATP from being made in the mitochondria of the cell. When you do that, the cell has no energy to replicate. You stop the cancer, whether you're taking chemotherapy or not. Now in chemotherapy can be pumped out of stem cells. And all cancers are coming from the stem cells. And you can't kill the stem cells. Like in the case of Ted Kennedy's brain tumor. It came on and they went in there and they radiated him and they cut what they could out of him. But what happened? Well, they said, he's in remission. We're going to get it, it looks like. They always say that. Why? Because they're killing the somatic cells that are easy to kill. But the stem cell, that really was the source of this cancer, has an ability to establish a chemical pump on the wall of the cell. He pumps the chemotherapy back out. You can't kill that stem cell with chemotherapy. And so you have to take away the ATP from that pump. And now the chemotherapy will go in and kill it. So if you take chemotherapy, why not take stem enhance with it, or this pawpaw cell regulator? And pawpaw cell regulator stops it, and it's available.
So what did you
know how
use
to
to
do it.
draw that out?
Oh, well, this is things you don't sell in a health food store. This is, you know, it's nasty because you put it on, you make a hole in you. You know, it's zinc chromate, wheat paste, rosin, and blood root. And yet you don't handle that in health food stores. They get, you know.
So you put it topically and it drew the...
Oh yes, yes, it will draw a brain tumor right through your skull.
You think he was stage 3, stage 4?
4.
Can we
He
see
was?
the-
He's going to die. Yeah, there's no question about that.
How long did it take?
That's 6 weeks.
6 weeks?
That's 6 weeks. And here, well, I have nasty pictures. I don't want to show you all of them. But now, see, now right here is a brain tumor coming out of my tax man. I should have let him die. But, you know, you take the oath of
You
hypocrisy.
should do your taxes for free now.
I know, yeah, you should. Yeah, but that's right where the Bluetooth hit him. He went to sleep on my couch. Vince, get that off your head. You're radiating your brain. You nut? He says, well, you got to die of something, Logan. You got to die of something. But you want to die, remember, shot by a jealous husband at 123. Purpose of life. And so we put it on his head. Now, he went to the medical system, want to cut half his tongue out, make a hole in his head, and just ruin him with radiations. He wouldn't have lived through it. Because he eats meat, he smokes, he does everything bad. He won't be able to live through it. He has no immunity. So he wouldn't live through that regimen. So he came back to me and we put it on his head. Piece of skull fell out, then the tumor rose and fell in my hand, and he was fine. So
It fell in your hand?
yeah. Yeah, well, a piece of skull has to come out first because that's the skull. And so, and this took 5 weeks. 5 weeks to get out of it, you know. So now that is kind of nasty, you know. However, it's possible. All these things are possible, and they're far beyond what the medical system will admit or wants to deal with. You see, so you know there's ways out of all these things. When you see these things in the eyes, sometimes you can't see them because it's not in your nervous system. It escapes us because it's just compiled by itself there. It's just it's a vegetative cells. They're like a vegetable, you see. And what causes these tumors mostly is mucus. Remember, mucus is your problem. The mucus-forming foods you want to stay away from. That's why you don't drink cow's milk. See that row of hemp milk and rice milk and all these nice milks? My goodness gracious. I mean, they taste so good, it makes me quiver. You know, but don't drink cow's milk. For heaven's sakes, that's just mucus out of the cow. And that mucus goes around a cell, and the cell can't breathe. He can't get oxygen in, he can't get waste out. He has two options. One, die. Two, change his genetic mechanism over to become a plant cell and live on your carbon dioxide and sugar. Now he's vegetating. He will continue to grow, coated with mucus, so that the immune system and the growth hormone can't get in there to control it. You have a tumor on your hands. And what caused that was mucus. Mucus-forming foods. You won't see many of those in here. That's milk, meat, wheat, oats, and sugar. Yes?
What about raw milk?
Raw milk is mucus out of the cow. Raw mucus out of the cow. That's what it is.
What about raw
Yeah,
goat's
and
milk?
if you drink it over the age of 4, people in most countries will look at you sideways and think you're a little bad. Because you don't make renin after the age of 4 or 5. Renin is not produced in your stomach. It takes renin to break apart the protein of that milk, and they don't have it after 4 or 5. Chinese never have it, so you never see a Chinaman drinking milk. And they don't have the tumors we have either. Yes.
So that probably goes for kefir too. Same thing for kefir.
Well, kefir is better because it's broken down.
Right.
See, kefir is a better deal.
But
But
is it
I can't eat it. I can't eat those things. I have a radio show on Wednesdays and on Tuesdays, and if I drink anything, milk, cheese, or anything like that, I wouldn't be able to speak.
So it's still really not that good.
I get mucus in your throat. But there are certain good things about it. However, I can't badmouth it because it's a lot better than your straight milk. It's broken down, easier to use.
Right.
In the body. It's just that me, a brown-eyed person, can't do it.
Okay.
Can't do it. Yeah. And any other question? Yes.
What about steel cutouts?
Okay, no matter how you cut it, it's acid. And so, in a demonstration just recently in Cincinnati, we went to Cincinnati to study out the sin in Cincinnati. Well, we had a huge meeting of naturopaths there, 4,000 of us, and this guy had 2 bowls of oats there. And he put water, the same amount of water in both of them, stirred them up. He put enzymes in one, he didn't in the other. And then he talked for about half an hour. And in half an hour, he turned them upside down. And the one with no enzymes, it was just solidified. It was just solid glue. Wow. That's all it was. And that's what it does in your body. And so, now the one with enzymes poured out. So it was digested, see, but the he was showing the power of enzymes. But if you don't have them, and you're over the age of 28, it's doubtful whether you have enough enzyme to do it. And oats and wheat have been ruined, remember. They have been hybridized by Rockefeller 100 years ago. So we haven't seen whole wheat or whole oats yet in our life. We have not seen that. And so the Scientific American has a big article, 8-page article on it, an August issue, and said it is fatal to eat it today. Fatal to eat wheat. Because there is no such thing as whole wheat. Because the germ is gone. And they showed how it's done, see? That Rockefeller removed the germ. And so all that's left is gluten. And they went in there, the University of Maryland, to prove that just a few people were allergic to gluten. It didn't harm us all. When they went down there, they found out it was harming all of us. And it was 100 times, they said, worse than what they thought. And it contacts the villi of the colon, which shrink in the face of it, and coat themselves with mucus. Now you have a coating of glue, called gluten, and you have a coating of mucus. So this is what we get out of people when we clean their bowels. So I was with Jensen for 3 years, and my job was to clean their bowels and hand them over to him so he could build them back up. This is the glue they got out of that we got out of them. See, it's in the books that you have on the market. This is tissue cleansing through bowel management. I was with him when he read this. If you don't throw up, just look at what came out of people. See, this is the glue that comes from wheat. And see, and that is 6 feet long, weighs 8 pounds sometimes. Everybody has it. Because, you know, when I was a kid, we used to sing the rhyme, oh, cream of wheat is so good to eat that we have it every day. Okay, well, it is nasty. And see, and this is what it does to bowel. It's what the University of Maryland proved it did when they went down with tubes, pipes, and cameras to show how bad a destruction this was. Yes.
Once you pick gluten free, how long does it take for that
To repair?
come out by itself without like a colonic or something?
You can do it. There's nice cleansers. You know, it's just taking a little psyllium now and then. Psyllium swells up 12 times its own size. Stuff comes out of you that different colors you never saw before. And you get a little cascara serrata in there. They have colon cleanse kits even, see. They work great. And you take one every now and then. Not bad. But you can melt this out to simple things like marshmallow and Pepsi. Now, marshmallow is the mallow that grows in the marsh. It's mentioned in the Bible 5 times. And Abraham Lincoln chewed that sweet root when he was a kid. That was their dessert back then in Indiana and Illinois. Well, we have it today in health food stores. Marshmallow. It sticks on the bowel wall, holds the pepsin on there long enough to eat the mucus, and you get strings and balls of mucus come out of you with dead threadworms by the millions. It's just amazing to see. You don't notice, I mean, you know, it's no big blast or anything, but it's easy to do. Yes?
You said the milk forms mucus. How about whey?
Whey is different. It's the alkaline portion of it. We use that for salt. You use whey for salt. We need a substitute for salt. Do not eat salt. Keep it in the garage to kill slugs and rats with, but do not put it on your food. That is nasty stuff. This book was written by Dr. Kritzer in 1925, Health and Freedom Through Self-Knowledge. He was a teacher of Dr. Jensen, who taught me. And then he brought iridology to the United States in 1904. And in this book that he wrote in 1925, he has a chapter in there. It's chapter 9. And in there he says, salt, the killer of health and youth. And he says, 12 grains will begin to kill your kidneys. 12 to 15 grains. Just a little bit, you can hold that in your hand and cannot see it. Begins to hurt your kidneys. And then it says, 10 times that, which just cover the bottom of a salt shaker, will kill any small animal. A dog or hog or a rabbit will paralyze. The animal sinks to the ground as the hindquarters are paralyzed. Then the muscles of the lungs are paralyzed and the victim dies of asphyxia. If this is the result of consumption of salt by animals, is it unreasonable to suppose that if a child was fed on salt-cured meat, salted fish, had a habit of adding salt to everything it partook of, it might be a factor in the causation of poliomyelitis? But of course. And then he forecast the coming of a polio epidemic in the United States that the world will not soon forget. And it will be horrible, and it will be caused this way. The hind legs will paralyze, then the lungs. 1925, friends. Yeah, and in 25 years it came. And I became a medical doctor at that time, and we were putting these poor kids, these salted kids, into iron lungs. And their hind legs were paralyzed, then their lungs. Exactly as it kills an animal. That's how bad it is. And that's why they started putting skull and crossbones on trucks that haul salt. You do not put it on your food.
Can you put it in scrubs for your body?
Yes. Okay. You sniff it up your nose. You gargle with it as a white ring around the perimeter of the eye. That white ring, when we took it out in Heidelberg University and looked at it in a microscope, it was salt, cholesterol, triglycerides, and calcium out of solution. That's what it was. And that sign is a diagnostic sign telling you that you have arteriosclerosis. You have hardening of the arteries, high blood pressure, and all the things that come with it. And that little sign there is in practically everybody over 50. Because we're eating salt. And that hangs in there and hardens the arteries. And now the medical doctors agree that that is a sign for arteriosclerosis. Okay, so, you know, there's not a lot of those signs they agree with us because they don't study it. They don't do the technical work it takes to prove what the eye shows. Yes?
have a question. I'm backing up just a little bit on
Yeah.
cancer.
Yes.
That black sap, is that something that you get from another country or?
I used to make it in a double boiler, but it got too expensive. You got to go down to North Kansas City to the chemical company and get, you know, this zinc chloride. They use it in bombs now. It's hard to get. So I want just a little from my kids' chemistry set. So they give me a pound or two. It got too hard to get. So they make it in Utah. An outfit makes it there that does real well, and we get it for $39. So for $72, this guy got out of cancer.
So it's just
Yeah, not $72,000. $72. He got out of pancreatic cancer.
And it's just called black sap?
Yeah, black cancer sap. It's been called that for years. Yeah, yeah.
And have you had any patient that has had that process done that passed away, or just an idea of the record of that?
You mean that?
How successful that is?
Oh,
Percentage.
well, here's the deal. They come to me as the last resort. I'm the last dog they see.
Yeah.
Okay, because they've tried their chemotherapy and their radiation, and it's taken them over, and they're in the fourth stage and almost dead.
It's the last.
In many cases, we pull them out, even at that point. But some of them are just beyond help. And like this clinic down in Mexico, the Gerson Clinic. Now Max Gerson Clinic. Now Max Gerson was quite a genius in his day. He used this black sap. He used a lot of different things, and it's quite a cancer clinic. I was down last time I was down there. 51 doctors from Europe were down there studying their protocol, their enemas they give, coffee enemas, and the things they do. You know, it's just wonderful to people. They take care of you, and you leave there usually cured. But Charlotte Gerson, who's in her 90s, called me the other day and says, "Ron, just don't send me anybody that's had chemotherapy. Just don't send them. They die on us. They've ruined their immune system. We can't rebuild it fast enough. They die on our hands, and that's against us. We don't like that." He said, "Just don't send them." I said, "Charlotte, that's all we get. Is people that's gone through the medical system because they worship it, you know. They think that's the way to go. And so they go there and ruin their immune system and their whole health, and then we have to rebuild them. That's our job. We don't want them." I had to argue with her for half an hour. She finally says, "Well, we do what we can, don't we?" I said, "Yes, we can." We're against the devil himself here. You see, the medical system is evil. If you don't believe it, just be in it for a little while. That's why I left it. Well, they kicked me out. But it is evil. And they are, so money is the bottom line, you see. And so that's why one cancer pill costs $136. And they make it for 2.4 cents. $136. That's a 569,000% markup. Who would do that except somebody that was evil? They're evil. And so if you don't think that, then deal with it. See, and like I did with my stupid knee. I mean, that's the D.O. It's the best you got out there. And all they could offer me was a shot of cortisone. Hello. See, so anyway, but that is a problem. And so if you catch them without that, they didn't take chemotherapy or radiate themselves, we get them out of it fast. But we can ameliorate those effects. And I have newsletters to show you how. Like black walnut hulls is good to ameliorate the effect of radiation. And saying it can take care of ROS, radiation species. So there's ways to do it and help them stay alive if they choose that route. We have to do the best we can to the oath of Hippocrates. Yes?
I just had a question on the x-ray deal, not wanting to have that.
Yeah.
Well, anytime you go to the dentist.
I know.
I mean, and it's like, oh, well, let me get this angle,
Yeah.
or that angle.
Let's put your
And
head
I'm
in
like,
there, going right around you.
What do you
Yeah.
do? Because, I mean, that's just their protocol,
That's right.
we need to do the
They
whole
finally
head
told
every
me they
year,
weren't gonna
whatever.
shoot again.
Yes.
They probably wasn't gonna let them x-ray me.
Right. There's certain dentists, though, that realize, you see, if they don't ask you, how many x-rays have you had? When you reach 3,200 rads of radiation, you got cancer. It's cumulative. If they don't, like me, I was down there at that family clinic, they didn't ask me how many radiations I had. Did you have a C scan? That's 2,000 x-rays all at once. Oh, you moved. Let's do it again. Okay, see, a mammogram, 540 rads of radiation. When you reach 3,200, that's 8 radiations, 8 mammograms. They gave you a cancer in your breast. Why would you do that? You'd have to have rocks in your head. And the doctor doesn't ask you, how many radiations have you had? Does he ask you that? No. He doesn't care whether you have cancer or not. There's money in their pocket. As he saw, it's really money. Because the big C is a scary thing,
So you just tell them you don't want X-rays?
Yeah, I just tell them, no way. Look in here if you can see a cavity, fine. You can't, fine.
Can't you naturally heal cavities now, too?
Oh, yeah. You heal cavities. And one of the great ways is to do oil pulling.
Yeah.
Oil pulling, this great stuff. But 1 drop of oregano, 2 of frankincense, 3 of melaleuca, 4 of lemon, and you put it in a tablespoon of coconut oil, fractionated, and squish it in your mouth for 20 minutes, and man, you've taken every bug out of your head. Even headaches go away. It whitens your teeth. It's amazing. The Arabs have been doing this for 1,000 years. Why don't we get this? Do this oil pulling. 1 of oregano, 2 of frankincense, 3 of melaleuca, tea tree, and 4 drops of lemon. That's all it takes. It's so powerful, you have to spit it into the trash.
How many times do you do it?
Oh, you can do it every day if you want to. Yeah. If you have headaches, or you have soft gums, or you have infection in your teeth, wow. You draw it out of there like you would believe.
Since we're talking about dentistry,
Yes.
what do you think about root canals?
Dr. Huggins is a friend of mine. He teaches the Huggins protocol. And so ask him, he was in a big meeting with 3,000 of us here a while back, and they asked him, what do you do with root canals? He said, you cut the tooth out.
You went through it twice, but you went through it fast.
1 of oregano.
Oh, 1 of oregano, 2 of frankincense, 3 of melaleuca or tea tree oil, and 4 of lemon.
Drops?
Drops. You just drop them in a tablespoon of fractionated coconut oil. It doesn't taste bad. And you squish it in your mouth for 20 minutes. Now we have Al Garcia. He's got 10 kids. He's got 10 grandkids. So he puts $20 in front of each one of them. He said, if you squish that for 20 minutes, you get the $20. But unless you do it for 20 minutes, you don't get it.
And what did you call that? Fractionated?
Fractionated coconut oil.
What does that mean?
Well, coconut oil is a totally saturated fat. All of its hydrogen arms are full of carbons. So it is totally saturated. It cannot be made rancid. It will take a great heat and not be rancid, because it doesn't have open arms to receive anything to make it rancid. So coconut oil is kind of a safe oil to cook with, because you can't make it rancid. That's the good part of it. It's not essentially a good oil for you. But now, since all the hydrogen arms are full of carbons, you have to break it up so it can hold something else. So if you put it with another oil as a carrier, you have to fractionate it or break those hydrogen arms open so it can grab those other oils and hold them to be a carrier. Oh, doTERRA. No, the good oil companies will sell. See, the essential oil companies all sell fractionated coconut oil. It's cheap. Comes in big bottles.
Can you use sesame oil too?
Yes, you use sesame oil, and you need coconut oil. Yeah, it's okay. Yes.
Tell them to spit it out and not swallow.
Oh yeah, do not swallow that. It is poisonous.
But you do
It's
it for
absolutely
20
poisonous.
minutes? 20 minutes?
20 minutes. Squish it for 20, and hold your head forward so that nothing goes down your throat. It's very full of viruses, bacteria, funguses. I mean, really, it's nasty. Yeah.
Okay, back to my question about root canals.
Yes.
You go there, they want to do a root canal, and I've read a lot of different things about that.
Yeah. Well, what a root canal is because infection has come through your gum from your bowel. The other day, this guy, he had melanomas on his face. We put frankincense on there and killed all the melanomas. They fell out. He's so happy he can't stand it. Frankincense will kill cancer. Can you believe it? Now, but right in here, I could see this a big old thing coming out of his bowel here, heading right for his face. A big black line toward his face. That's where it's coming from. We had to stop it there. It keeps coming. It goes to your jaws. Your jaws are right in here, so your lower jaw. Now what if you have the poisons coming from your small intestine? There is an incredibly small or thin place in your small intestine leaking undigested protein acids in there, like indoles or scatols, very poisonous. They go up through your jaw to get out. They're under your tooth. Your tooth loosens. It gets infected. Okay, now you drill through that tooth, you kill the infection, and you put pergam in there and pack it up. Does that stop the infection? No, it keeps coming. So almost in every case of a root canal, pretty soon they lose the tooth anyway, because the infection keeps coming. So what is it? It's deeper than that. It's in your bowel. That's where you got to go. You see, to clean that up and put charcoal and hydrated bentonite and psyllium hulls in it, keep pulling it back in there so it doesn't leak out, and then heal this bowel wall so it's not so thin, it doesn't leak so much. But usually when you have that happening in a tooth, you lose it. You just lose a tooth. And they have ways of bridging that and everything else. But Hal Huggins, who I respect as the best dentist in the world, he said just take it out. Because you'll spend all that money doing it and then lose the tooth anyway. 80% of them do. And by the way, 80% of those people who lose their gallbladders become diabetic. 80%. Do not let them have your gallbladder. Yeah. So remember, if you have a bad gallbladder, you will see it in the eye at about 7:40 in the right eye. So do something about it. Clean it.